ActionSA has filed a motion of no confidence against Joburg's Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda after he failed to address fraud claims during his State of the City address this week. Now, former Mayor Dr. Mpho Phalatse says members of the public approached her, claiming that he defrauded them through a funeral Ponzi scheme. For more on this, at least for a sense of ActionSA's next move, let's speak to its Joburg Caucus leader, Funzi Ngobeni, who joins us now via our video link this morning. It's great to have you on the program, sir. Thanks as always for making time. Interestingly enough, reports emerging this morning, I think it was from News 24 actually, that the DA is unlikely to support this particular motion. Are there any credence, or is there any credence to those reports?
Yeah, good morning, Ayanda. Good morning to the viewers. Look, we wrote to the DA on the 15th of May after having obviously engaged with other parties, and they were not part of that engagement. So we reached out to them to talk about this, because this is a very, very important matter that it cannot be kicked for touch. It needs to be ventilated fully. So that the residents of Joburg know exactly that they have a mayor that they can trust, that they can sleep at night knowing that the budget that is allocated to the city of Johannesburg is safe. So yeah, it will be interesting to see which position they are going to take. We will continue to try and engage with them and engage with other parties as well. I think you remember, Ayanda, that when we tabled a motion against Thapelo Ahmad, there are other parties in the coalition of the ANC and the EFF that looked at the merit of our issue, and they eventually convinced their own partners that indeed Thapelo needs to resign. And that motion never got tabled in council. He resigned before that time.
Yeah.
And we hope that the DA and other parties, particularly ANC and EFF, the PA on that side, they will reflect and they will come to realize that this is not a light matter.
Sure. Okay, so what are you saying? Are you saying the DA hasn't responded to you about whether or not they're going to back you in this particular motion? Because the reports, at least in my mind, sound pretty clear that they're saying they won't.
Yeah, no, they have not responded to us. They have not responded to us. They have not responded to any of our partners that were previously in the coalition with. So we continue to engage with them, and I think eventually they will have to make their own decisions, as we have made our own decisions, and the voters and the residents will have to decide.
Yeah, it does feel awkward, doesn't it? And I'm struggling to find any other word, because I mean, at the heart of the motion you're bringing forward is because of claims essentially made by the DA, and it's now the very same DA kind of kicking for touch, at least insofar as your recollection of the events is going by, when it comes to supporting you on that particular motion.
Yeah, I mean, quite bizarre. But and why I'm saying this matter is very serious, Ayanda. I mean, the Code of Conduct of Councillors, as you will find it in the Municipal Systems Act, it's quite clear that as councillors we have to at all times make sure that we put the best interest of the municipality ahead of us. It actually says we need to make sure that the credibility and the integrity of the municipality is not compromised by any of our act. So this particular mayor is refusing to account, is refusing to clear the air in terms of the allegations that were leveled against him, that are quite serious, and he's refusing to speak to the media. Meaning that he doesn't want to be transparent. We suspect that probably he doesn't want to incriminate himself, but even these coalition partners that are with him, ANC, EFF, PA, they are not responding, at least trying to clear the air on his behalf, because he's nowhere to be seen. By the way, we do understand that he was admitted in hospital. We wish him well, we wish him speedy recovery, but this issue remains, and we're going to pursue it up until to the end.
Yeah, well, Kunene was on Newzroom Afrika yesterday, actually, last night, and said apparently he's doing well. He had just an allergic reaction, and it seems the medication he's taking is fine. We just don't know when he's going to be back in office, of course, so I can't give you any kind of idea of when he'll ever respond to these claims. To be fair, though, part of why we're told the DA is unlikely to support this particular motion is because they simply don't believe the numbers balance out. You're confident, nonetheless, that if this were to get to some kind of vote, that you would have those numbers?
Yeah, no, I mean, we will work very hard towards that. We didn't have numbers in the previous motion that we tabled. Our objective was to hold that mayor accountable and to exercise the instrument that is provided to us by council. And eventually, it came to pass. We managed to get a new mayor. Unfortunately, the ANC and the EFF coalition failed again to give us the best among themselves. And they gave us almost the worst. So it's again going to be the ball is going to be in their court to make sure that if they've got the numbers, by all means they can give us someone that can be able to lead the city. Our interest is the integrity of that office and to ensure that we continue to get service delivery that is demanded and required by our residents.
Yeah.
So it's not a game. We could easily fold our arms and say, let's see what happens. Let's see whether this mayor will eventually. But the risk is too high, and I think our residents expect us to do our job and to make sure that we exercise accountability from the representatives that are elected.
This is obviously a calculated move from ActionSA, and by that I mean you must have thought about it for quite some time. In my mind, you must believe that the claims made by the DA must have a fair amount of veracity to them, right? What kind of evidence has the DA presented to you to back what they say they've heard from people about what Kabelo Gwamanda is being accused of?
Look, I think it's not only the DA that made these claims. I think you'll remember that Carte Blanche had an episode directed at this particular issue, and they interviewed, victims of this scheme that was allegedly run by the mayor. So it's evidence that is there that there's criminal cases that ought to have been opened by now. I believe that we know that the mayor is skitting and ducking and diving and not wanting to respond to them. So it's not that, and obviously I think all this can be over in a moment if the mayor can come to your station there and clear the air and distance himself from that scheme and tell residents that and all of us that he was never involved in such and that the residents must trust that he's not a schemer and he's not someone that takes money from the poor. I think if he can do that, it will really give us some confidence that maybe those allegations are not correct while we are waiting for them to be investigated and the criminal justice systems to act on them. So I think that's all we were asking. That's all we were asking in a statement we made on Monday to say, here's an opportunity. You are doing a State of the City address. Use that opportunity. Take the residents into your confidence. He ignored us and he didn't say anything about it. He didn't say anything about other issues like failing to attend the IDP meetings and so forth. So we don't think that we should just fold our arms and do nothing. And we don't think other parties need to do that as well.
Okay,
they need to apply their mind and come to the party.
Sure. All right. So to be clear, I mean, it's just the claims from the DA and that program you mentioned from Carte Blanche that you're running with here. But you haven't actually, have you spoken to some of the victims? Do you know if a case has been opened against the mayor?
Yeah, we have spoken to other victims, and they have indicated that they have open cases, but it's just that we have not followed up on that yet. I think we remain committed and to follow the process and to wait for the police to do their work and to be able to give us the results in that case. But what is important here is that we have someone sitting in the office that is overseeing a 70 billion rand a budget for the city, and we are not sure whether these individuals can be trusted. We are not sure whether these individuals can be able to look after that budget and be able to be accountable.
Yeah.
Currently, he's not showing any signs of that, and that is what we are pursuing at the moment.
Sure. I mean, look, this is not to appear to be on anyone's side here, but I'm sure these are the kind of questions I imagine if the mayor were to speak out, they're going to be asking us in response to what is essentially informed a decision to bring forward this motion of no confidence. But if Kabelo Gwamanda does leave, I mean, it feels like the city's right back where we started, and there could be an iteration of exactly the same thing to bring in yet another councillor who may face all kinds of questions, not even just about their behavior, but even just about whether or not they're simply fit for office.
Yeah, no, Ayanda, I think we shouldn't forget that there was a coalition since the 2021 elections, and that coalition was made up of the DA, ourselves, the Freedom Front, and others. We sat around the table, and we identified an individual that can lead the city, and that was Dr. Phalatse. We rallied behind her, and eventually, we lost the vote of motion of no confidence when the PA voted with the ANC. I think subsequent to that, the ANC and the EFF formed the coalition. What they ought to do, what they're supposed to do that time, was to sit around the table and also identify the best among themselves. But on two occasions, they've actually failed to do so. We think that they're not taking the city seriously. They're not taking our residents seriously. They are playful, and that needs to be something that the residents needs to take with them as they go into the 2024 elections, because we can't have political parties playing with the lives of South Africans, particularly of people of Johannesburg, by every time installing a mayor that is suspect, that doesn't have capacity to be able to deliver. So it's something that those questions need to be posed to the ANC. It needs to be posed to Panyaza Lesufi and the team that he's working with to bring together this coalition. So from our side, we believe that we need to hold them accountable up until the end, right. And that's exactly what we are doing.
Loud and clear. Funzi Ngobeni, thanks very much indeed for your time. Appreciate your weighing in on the story. Funzi Ngobeni, of course, is ActionSA's Johannesburg Caucus leader. Once again, thanks very much indeed.